I'm happy in a pair of khakis and a sweater, so I don't need fancy clothes. I don't need fancy food.
Do you have an iPad?
I do not have an iPad.
iPhone?
No.
At the age of 27, she started and founded the Children's Orthopedic Hospital.
Imagine being a billionaire, having access to unimaginable wealth, and still choosing to live almost austerely. No iPad, no iPhone, no lavish dinners. Why would they do this? In a world where money translates into mansions, private jets, and extravagant pleasures, there is an exclusive group of billionaires who have opted for a surprisingly modest lifestyle. But what drives them to reject the comforts that could change their lives forever? In this video, we will explore the lives of these industry titans who, despite having multi-million-dollar fortunes, choose to live as though they have much less. We will show you what motivates them to make such unusual decisions and how this attitude toward money has helped them find true wealth. Get ready to discover the incredible story of billionaires who, instead of surrounding themselves with luxuries, feel happier with the simple. Number 10. Azim Premji, the Bill Gates of India with a frugal lifestyle. Azim Premji, known by many as the Bill Gates of India, is a billionaire who has managed to build a gigantic tech empire while maintaining a surprisingly modest focus. With a net worth of over $11 billion, Premji is a clear example of how frugality can coexist with success on a grand scale. How is it possible for someone with so much wealth to focus so much on the smallest details of daily life? One of the most well-known stories about Premji's personality is his meticulous oversight of resource consumption in his company. It is said that he even monitors the use of toilet paper at the facilities of his tech giant, Wipro Limited. While this may seem eccentric, it is merely a manifestation of his desire to avoid any waste. For Premji, every expense matters, even when it comes to the most mundane details. Despite having the means to afford top-of-the-line luxury vehicles, Premji continues to live simply. For years, he drove an old Ford, and when he finally needed a replacement, he chose a Toyota Corolla, a model far from being considered luxurious. When it was time to replace it again, Premji followed his philosophy of frugality and bought a used Mercedes E-Class from one of his own employees, demonstrating that ostentation is not part of his lifestyle. In addition to his control over consumption in his company, Premji is also known for his saving practices in the office. For example, he asks his employees to turn off the lights at the end of the day, a gesture that, although small, reflects his commitment to energy efficiency. This attention to detail in everyday life contrasts with the image commonly associated with billionaires, who often live surrounded by luxury and opulence. Premji's humility goes beyond his personal habits. He is known for his generosity and commitment to social causes. Despite his fortune, Premji has donated billions of dollars to educational and health initiatives in India, improving the quality of life for thousands of people. His approach to life is not only marked by frugality, but also by a genuine desire to improve society. Through his foundation and other initiatives, Premji has shown that while money is important, what truly matters is how it is used to help others. Azim Premji's life is a reminder that true success is not always linked to ostentation or luxury. His ability to maintain a simple life despite his immense wealth teaches us that true wealth lies in the actions we take to improve the world and how we choose to live responsibly. Number 9. Guang Yu, the Chinese billionaire who lives modestly. Guang Yu, also known as Guang Yu, is a name that was once synonymous with immense wealth in China. Former president of Guang Group, the largest consumer electronics retailer in the country, Guang was recognized as the richest man in China at the peak of his career. However, behind his multi-million-dollar fortune, which surpassed $6 billion, was a man who lived surprisingly modestly, rejecting the ostentation that characterizes many of his billionaire peers. Despite being among the wealthiest in China, Guang Yu did not live in a luxurious mansion, nor did he enjoy private yachts. Instead, he resided in a simple apartment in Beijing, where he lived with his wife and 2 daughters, leading a life more typical of a diligent accountant than a tech mogul. His image as a simple man contrasted sharply with the typical image of a Chinese millionaire, and the media even compared him to an old farmer for his rejection of luxuries like golf, which is very popular among the wealthy in China. Huang's modesty was not just a personal preference, it was deeply influenced by his childhood. He grew up working in rice fields and collecting scrap metal to survive, which instilled in him a strong sense of thrift and prudence. Moreover, he dropped out of school at a young age, which further deepened his cautious approach toward money and wealth. In a country like China, where the relationship with the rich can be tense and sometimes laden with suspicion, Huang understood that displaying his wealth could be dangerous. The public, influenced by communist ideologies, often viewed billionaires with suspicion, accusing them of tax evasion or unethical business practices. In 2008, Guang Yu was arrested for stock market manipulation and other corruption-related charges. He was sentenced to 14 years in prison. Although his imprisonment might have seemed like a fatal blow, Huang continued to exert influence over his company. In fact, despite being behind bars, he increased his stake in Gome, consolidating his control over the company to 55.3%. Just before his release in 2021, Gome experienced an unexpected resurgence thanks to significant cash injections, demonstrating his continued power in the business world. Guang Yu's life offers a profound lesson on modesty and caution in managing wealth. Despite achieving monumental business success, his simple life and discreet approach to money made him stand out as an atypical figure among Chinese billionaires. Is this modesty a response to China's business culture or a way to stay away from the country's political tensions? Without a doubt, Huang's story is a reminder that money does not always manifest in luxuries and ostentation. It can also be managed with humility and wisdom. Number 8. Christy Walton, a discreet billionaire and generous philanthropist. Christy Walton is one of the richest women in the world, thanks to the fortune inherited from her husband, John Thomas Walton, one of the sons of Walmart founder Sam Walton. After the tragic plane crash that claimed her husband's life in 2005, Christy inherited a significant stake in the Walmart empire, bringing her net worth to approximately $11.6 billion. However, far from living an ostentatious life of luxury, Walton has chosen a discreet lifestyle, living in the small town of Jackson, Wyoming, known for its mountainous landscape and relaxed atmosphere. Despite her enormous wealth, Christy Walton is characterized by her private and quiet life. She is known for avoiding the spotlight, rarely granting interviews or making public appearances. Although her family is associated with one of the world's largest retail chains, Christy prefers to live simply, without resorting to ostentation or the accumulation of unnecessary luxuries. After the death of her husband, Walton decided to donate the Victorian mansion in California where she raised her son, rather than continue living there. This reflects her pragmatic approach and desire to preserve normality and privacy for her family. Christy Walton is a devout Christian, and her faith is reflected in her generous philanthropy. She has donated billions of dollars to various causes, particularly those related to children's education, environmental protection, and the fight against AIDS. Through the Walton Family Charitable Support Foundation, Walton has made significant donations to universities, colleges, and non-profit organizations, supporting educational, social, and health projects worldwide. One of Walton's most notable contributions was her support for the Lincoln Project, a super PAC that opposed Donald Trump's re-election in the 2020 presidential election. Additionally, Walton was one of the funders of the film adaptation of the famous novel Bless Me, Ultima, a cultural project that promoted Latino identity and the value of traditions. Despite the immense fortune she inherited, Walton prefers to stay away from public life. Instead, she dedicates much of her time and resources to working with various non-profit organizations. For example, she is a board member of the San Diego Natural History Museum and supports institutions such as the San Diego Zoological Society. Additionally, she is active in the Philanthropy Roundtable, an organization that promotes positive social impact through strategic philanthropy. Number 7. David Green, the Christian billionaire who lives humbly. David Green, the founder and CEO of Hobby Lobby, is not only a successful businessman, but also a devout evangelical Christian who has dedicated his life and fortune to his faith. Since founding Hobby Lobby in 1970 with a modest $600 loan, Green has grown his net worth to over $4.6 billion. However, despite his remarkable success, his lifestyle remains surprisingly frugal and true to his religious beliefs. Green's story begins in a small garage, where he started making picture frames. In collaboration with Larry Pico, he launched his business under the name Greco Products. After buying out Pico's share, Green expanded the business and employed people with cerebral palsy in a small factory, paying them 10 cents per frame. By 1972, the business transformed into what we now know as Hobby Lobby, with its first 300-square-foot store in Oklahoma City. David Green's Christian faith profoundly influences all his decisions, not just in his personal life, but also in his business practices. Green does not see his wealth as something he owns, but as a responsibility, considering himself simply a steward of God's money. This religious perspective is the foundation of his frugality, which is reflected in his choice to live a simple life despite his immense fortune. Unlike other billionaires, Green avoids luxury and prefers to live austerely. He flies economy class, drives an old car, and resides in a modest house. His commitment to his faith has also led him to stand by his religious convictions, such as when he opposed the Obamacare mandate requiring employers to cover contraceptive costs, arguing that it violated his beliefs. David Green is one of the largest individual donors to evangelical causes worldwide. He has donated over $500 million to various ministries, missions, and charitable organizations. His passion for biblical scholarship and religious artifacts led him to found the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., a monumental project costing $500 million, which houses an impressive collection of over 1,000 items related to biblical history. Green's frugality is not just about money, it reflects the principles and values he cherishes. His humble lifestyle, along with his philanthropic contributions and dedication to his faith, make him a model of how wealth can be used to serve a greater purpose. Despite his multi-billion-dollar fortune, David Green remains a simple figure who lives according to the Christian principles that guide his life and business decisions. Number 6. Warren Buffett, the billionaire who lives as if he were poor. When Warren Buffett is mentioned, it's hard not to think of a man who has amassed a fortune of over $120 billion, becoming one of the richest and most respected billionaires in the world. Despite his astounding success and financial status, Buffett's life is a prime example of humility and modesty, proving that wealth is not always associated with luxury and excess. Unlike many billionaires who own multiple luxury mansions, Warren Buffett still lives in the same modest house he bought in 1958 in Omaha, Nebraska, for just $31,500. To put it in perspective, most millionaires would have sold that house decades ago to move into much more luxurious properties, but Buffett has chosen to stay in that 5-bedroom home for over 60 years. This gesture reflects his austere approach and his belief that you don't need a palace to be happy. His life in a simple house stands in stark contrast to the luxury typically associated with multi-million-dollar fortunes, and it has become one of the symbols of his life philosophy. Although he owns a fleet of private jets through his conglomerate, Berkshire Hathaway, Buffett still chooses to fly economy class on commercial flights, a surprising choice for someone with so much wealth and access to any imaginable luxury. This attitude not only highlights his modest nature, but also aligns with his belief that money should not be spent unnecessarily. For Buffett, comfort does not come from ostentation, but from living simply and enjoying the small things in life. This practical and unpretentious approach to travel and luxury has been a source of admiration. Although he could afford all kinds of extravagances, Buffett shows that true satisfaction does not come from waste, but from making efficient use of what is essential. Warren Buffett is also well known for his commitment to philanthropy. In 2010, along with Bill Gates, he founded the Giving Pledge, a public commitment to donate most of his wealth to charitable causes. Buffett has pledged to donate more than 99% of his fortune over his lifetime, primarily through the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and other organizations. This generous act underscores his focus on the well-being of society and the positive impact that can be made through education, health, and other key areas. Despite being one of the richest men on the planet, Buffett believes that true wealth is not found in material possessions, but in the ability to use that wealth to improve the lives of others. Instead of accumulating luxury properties or indulging in extravagant pleasures, his view of life is centered on social purpose and making a meaningful difference in the world. Warren Buffett's life is a powerful reminder that true wealth is not always measured by property, luxury cars, or jewelry. His modest house, simple lifestyle, and philanthropic commitment teach us that what truly matters is the impact we leave on the world and how we choose to live our lives, regardless of the magnitude of the fortune we may have. Buffett invites us to question our priorities, value what truly matters, and consider how we use our resources. In the end, his legacy will not be marked only by his wealth, but by the lives he transformed and the inspiration he provided to generations. Warren Buffett's life is a testament that money doesn't buy happiness, and that the true value of life lies in living with purpose, generosity, and gratitude. Buffett has shown that living as if you were poor, even when you're a billionaire, can be a profoundly meaningful way to connect with the world and others. His example is an invitation to reflect on what we truly value in life and how we can use our blessings to do good. Number 5. Theo and Karl Albrech, the humility behind the Aldi empire. Theo and Karl Albrech, the brothers who founded Aldi, the discount retail giant, are the perfect example of how humility and frugality can be the foundation of a successful business empire. With a combined net worth exceeding $38 billion, the Albrech brothers demonstrated that it's not necessary to live in the spotlight or surrounded by luxury to achieve colossal success. The Albrech brothers were not only known for their business acumen, but also for a deeply impactful experience in their lives. In 1971, Theo was kidnapped and held hostage for 17 days. Despite being freed and a $2 million ransom being paid, Theo became extremely private and paranoid, choosing to live in anonymity and security. This experience gave the brothers a different perspective on life, which was reflected in their personal decisions and lifestyle habits. Although they were billionaires, the Albrech brothers kept themselves out of the limelight and lived surprisingly modest lives. Karl, for example, lived in a simple 4-story house, while Theo chose a solitary highway instead of a luxurious residence. Both brothers kept away from interviews and were rarely photographed. As for cars, both preferred modest vehicles. Karl continued to drive a Volkswagen from the 1980s, while Theo became so frugal that he wore cheap clothes and used pencils until they were completely worn down. In their business, this same cost-saving approach was reflected in decisions like using thin paper for store blueprints rather than spending more on thicker paper. The Albrech brothers' business approach was equally austere. Aldi is known for offering high-quality products at low prices, without luxury or ostentation in its stores. The brothers' philosophy was to maximize operational efficiency and reduce waste, allowing them to build a retail empire based on low costs and savings, not just for themselves, but for their customers as well. The legacy of the Albrech brothers is a life and business lesson. Frugality is not just a personal trait, but a powerful business strategy. Aldi has grown to become one of the largest supermarket chains in the world, all thanks to its simple, efficient, and customer-focused business model. Number 4. Carlos Slim Helú, the tycoon, who preaches modesty. Carlos Slim Helú is one of the richest men on the planet, known for his business empire that spans from telecommunications to mining. Throughout his career, he has amassed a fortune that, at its peak, surpassed $116 billion, placing him among the wealthiest people in the world. However, what truly sets Slim apart is his ability to maintain a simple and frugal life despite his vast wealth. Although Slim owns giant companies like Telmex and America Móvil, he has proven that one can be powerful in business without succumbing to luxury. Unlike other billionaires, he doesn't live in an ostentatious mansion nor lead an extravagant lifestyle. Carlos Slim prefers to drive his own car without the need for chauffeurs or bodyguards, despite the security concerns faced by entrepreneurs in Mexico. His lifestyle reflects simplicity, prioritizing practicality over wastefulness. After the death of his wife in 1999, Slim focused even more of his time and energy on his family, especially on his children and grandchildren. In his philanthropic efforts, Slim has been a strong advocate for active philanthropy. While he has not adhered to the giving pledge like other billionaires, his generosity is notable. Through his Carlos Slim Foundation, he has donated millions of dollars to causes promoting social development, education, and culture in Mexico and around the world. Carlos Slim has demonstrated that humility is not incompatible with success. His austere lifestyle, combined with his visionary approach to business and philanthropy, has made him a respected figure. Despite his power in the business world, he has maintained his values and principles as a constant in his life. Number 3. David Cheriton, the billionaire who chose simplicity and generosity. David Cheriton, a professor at Stanford University and a billionaire with an estimated net worth of $122.5 million, is a shining example of how one can amass considerable wealth without falling into the excesses of riches. His life, far from ostentation and the constant pursuit of luxury, reflects a sober approach to life that defies conventional expectations of billionaires. Despite having a fortune that could have allowed him to move into a luxurious mansion, Cheriton has chosen to stay in the same house since 1981. This seemingly simple act reflects his focus on stability and common sense. Instead of following the trend of moving into ever larger, more expensive homes, Cheriton opted to remain in a home that, according to him, meets his needs without any need for showiness. This commitment to simplicity is a clear statement that the value of life does not lie in material possessions or luxury labels, but in personal satisfaction and staying true to what really matters. David Cheriton has also made surprising choices in his daily life that demonstrate his practical, anti-consumerist attitude. A notable example is his decision to cut his own hair, a task many millionaires would delegate to expensive stylists. Undoubtedly, this small detail illustrates his belief that it's unnecessary to spend money on luxuries that do not contribute to his personal well-being. Another aspect that underscores his philosophy of simple living is his choice of vehicle. Instead of driving a luxury car or a fleet of high-performance vehicles, Cheriton drives a 1986 Volkswagen, a simple, functional, and above all, practical car. This car not only reflects his disdain for ostentation, but also emphasizes his life approach, using what he truly needs and avoiding waste. Despite his personal frugality, David Cheriton is not a selfish man when it comes to sharing his fortune. Throughout his life, he has been generous with his resources, especially in the field of education. One of his most notable contributions was a $25 million donation to the University of Waterloo, which resulted in the renaming of its computer science school in his honor. These kinds of contributions not only highlight his commitment to higher education, but also reflect his desire to empower future generations. Additionally, Cheriton has also donated $2 million to the University of British Columbia, supporting educational initiatives and projects that promote women's empowerment. These actions show that Cheriton firmly believes that true wealth does not come from accumulating material possessions, but from the ability to positively influence the world through education and philanthropy. David Cheriton's life is a clear example that true wealth is not measured by material possessions, but by the positive impact one can make in the world. While his fortune could have led him to live luxuriously and ostentatiously, he has chosen a modest, stable, and generous lifestyle. Cheriton teaches us that one can live a full and meaningful life without the need to surround oneself with unnecessary material goods. His example demonstrates that, in the end, the most valuable wealth is that which is shared, and that the true meaning of life lies in making a difference in the lives of others. Number 2, David Tepper, the billionaire who prefers simplicity over luxury. David Tepper is an outstanding example of how a billionaire can live with humility despite having a fortune of $20 billion. He is the founder and owner of the Carolina Panthers and the Charlotte Football Club, 2 major sports teams. However, despite his enormous wealth and success, Tepper has chosen a lifestyle that contrasts deeply with the luxury and extravagance typically associated with great fortunes. Tepper, despite his fortune and influence in the sports and business world, has opted to keep a low profile. Instead of owning multiple mansions or luxury properties, he still lives in the same modest house in New Jersey that he bought with his wife in 1990. The property, a simple 2-story home, is located in a regular suburb, far from the exclusive areas where billionaires usually reside. Tepper has never felt the need to upgrade his residence despite his success, which reflects a prudent financial attitude and a desire to maintain a simple life. Tepper's attitude towards money is deeply influenced by his youthful experiences. His father gave him stakes in 2 companies in Pennsylvania, both of which went bankrupt. This early failure in his life taught him the importance of not taking money for granted and being cautious with investments. These early lessons were likely what shaped his approach to wealth and consumption, with caution, discipline, and a simple approach. In contrast to many of his billionaire peers, Tepper has maintained an attitude that prioritizes financial stability over ostentation. He doesn't own vacation homes or luxury cars, and he has stated that he wouldn't mind returning to his roots in Pittsburgh and working in steel mills if necessary. This approach reflects his humility and practical attitude towards wealth. Despite his tremendous success in the investment world, Tepper shows that one can be successful without resorting to ostentation. His life serves as a reminder that it is possible to live fully and meaningfully without the need to indulge in unnecessary luxury. Number 1, Teer, the billionaire who chose generosity over luxury. Teer is the founder of Foxconn, one of the most influential companies in the global technology industry. Despite having a net worth of $7.1 billion, Gu has chosen to lead an extraordinarily modest life, making him an example of frugality for many. Before his second marriage, Gu made an impressive commitment to donate 90% of his fortune to charity. This altruistic act was widely praised, but what was most surprising was the modest approach to his wedding. Despite being one of the richest men in Taiwan, Gu allocated only $600,000 for his wedding, a comparatively low expenditure considering his wealth. This decision generated mixed reactions, especially since his ex-fiancée married the same weekend and spent $6.5 million on her wedding. Teer has made simplicity a key principle in his life. Not only does he demonstrate impressive generosity by committing to donate a large portion of his fortune, but he also lives austerely, choosing frugality over luxury. His life is a lesson in how wealth doesn't always have to be ostentatious to be meaningful. Gu has not only demonstrated that luxury is not synonymous with happiness, he has also made it clear that generosity and commitment to social well-being can be more valuable than any materialism. His life and decisions invite us to reflect on the true purpose of wealth, to do good in the world. In a world where wealth is often associated with luxury and excess, the stories of these modest billionaires encourage us to reflect on what truly matters. From Guang Yu to Warren Buffett, each demonstrates that true greatness resides in humility, generosity, and positive impact on society. Thank you for joining us on this journey. We hope these inspiring stories motivate you to value simplicity and find satisfaction in the essentials. Until next time.